Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast with your host, Dr. Tony Huang. Today we're with a special guest. Will, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. This is Will Lu. I'm co-founder and CTO of Orby AI. We are focused on building an agent platform for big enterprises to solve their complex enterprise processes.
So, how did you get into like enterprise architecture? Like it looks like you spent some time at Google Cloud. Can you like describe what you did and like what are like the cool things that you learned?
Yeah, of course. So I started my career actually in NVIDIA. So at that time I was a lower level system engineer building CUDA drivers. That's like 2012, then when AI just got started super hot. Andrew Ng came to NVIDIA, tried to convince them to invest in more to build deep learning support. And then after that, I joined Google, work on bidding strategy, continue to use AI. And later, when Fei Li joined Google to build this cloud AI org, that org been focusing on providing enterprise AI softwares to enterprises. And then there, I worked on quite a few of those enterprise AI products. Some of them you already know, like Vertex AI was one of the early founding members of that product. And then also I co-founded a few products like Document AI, Enterprise Knowledge Graph, and the Knowledge Service, all serving big enterprises using AI.
Oh, that's pretty exciting because for my day job, I'm the managing director of Gen AI, and we're actively using like Google Cloud's Vertex AI as our primary platform. So that's really awesome that we got to meet the founder, one of the founding members of Vertex AI. So like did you find it and then leave after a couple of years, or like what'd you do during that time with Vertex?
Yeah, so I was in the early team and then I decided to start a new product within Cloud AI. That's like the product called Document AI. That's when this whole deep learning got super popular with ImageNet. When we see an opportunity, we can build the solutions to help enterprise to understand their unstructured data really well. We are actually one of the first custom vendors for that kind of solution. And then after that, I started a new product called Enterprise Knowledge Graph. Basically, it's helping enterprise to create their own knowledge graph using their own data. So that now been reformed into this thing called Cloud Search, offered by Google Cloud AI as well. And then after that, I met my co-founder Bella, and she's talking about the self-driving car problem on computers for agents. Like that triggered me, and then I was really interested in problem solving, decided to quit Google and then join the journey, started Orby.
That's really cool. So in the past, what were some trends that you saw in industry?
The adoption of the one's biggest trend that we've seen is that the adoption of deep learning has become easier and easier. In the early days, you do need really strong ML or AI engineers to be able to figure out, define a problem, set up evaluation, and then train the models. And the models being adopted become more and more powerful, and the kind of insights you have on those problems and the models become less and less requirements. And the kind of models you adopt also become simpler. In the early days of LCM, we have a GNN. Now everything is transformer. You have the same architecture. And then even better, the input and output are being like standardized. Everything is just tokens. In the early days, you have different kind of embeddings. You have to figure out how to do it. That's one big trend. The second big trend is this whole foundation model adoption. Even early days, in my document AI products, we're leveraging foundation models to solve the problems. We see the amount of data needed for training a model getting smaller and smaller until the ChatGPT time when only one prompt with some samples and then it works for a lot of the problems. And moving forward, I think the question is how we can make the foundation model to be able to support this kind of ease of use to a broad use cases. For example, like computer use being a hot trend these days. So how do you scale up the models, be able to easily, quickly set up to solve this computer use problem? Also become a very interesting and hot topic in 2025.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think the accessibility of being able to take AI and bring it to the masses has drastically like increased. I did remember like back in the day when like TensorFlow was like the big hot thing and everyone was using that, but the learning curve was really high. And then like when PyTorch got released, everyone switched over to PyTorch because it was very Pythonic. And then when Gen AI got released, that was still very difficult to use. And now you can like download like Olama, for instance, and then run like a LLM on your own personal computer in a couple of clicks. So the progression of accessibility has drastically increased every couple months, and we're seeing the adoption of AI become more and more prevalent because of that increase in accessibility. So I agree with everything that you just said. That was I love being able to just make things more accessible. I'm a big like supporter of like open source software. So so that's
Yeah.
just kind of my background. But yeah, like right now, like the big hot thing isn't just like AI. It's like generative AI. Everyone's talking about that. Like what like how do you feel like Gen AI right now is affecting the enterprise?
Yeah, I think definitely every single enterprise now these days, top of their mind is what's their AI strategies, how they should adopt Gen AI. It's like FOMO definitely is going on. But on the flip side is that making this all Gen AI works for their complex use cases, especially on the agent side, as still there's a lot of gaps. And then I think different way of solving that problem being explored in the industry. For example, they can develop their in-house solution with a bunch of AI engineers and try to build solutions on top of Gen AI capabilities. And there are in consulting, big consulting firms like Accenture, who has a in-house AI talents, and they're also exploring like vendors like Orby to give them a package solution so that they don't have to figure out all the details.
So what makes like what's different between like an AI enterprise platform versus like a non AI enterprise platform? Like what's is it like just the way like the workflow works? Like is there like something that's like what's like the key difference between the two?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. I think I learned all this since my early days in Google. For enterprise, having a technical solution for a problem itself it definitely doesn't solve the problem for the enterprise. They need a solution to be scalable. They need to be reliable, secure, and well supported. Say, for example, if they have one use case you solve for them, they also need to know that, okay, if I need to solve 100 similar use cases, what that operation model will be look like. How can my team do it efficiently? How we can support that efficiently, how make sure that everything is running in reliable and secure ways. So all of this come to together to calculate the ROIs for that project. So solving one technical problem is not efficient or sufficient for enterprise. For consumers, you're relatively straightforward. They have one problem solved, and they're happy they continue to use it. If they just use a one use case, they're fine with it. If the price and the usage is okay for them.
Cool. And then on like for like the technical architecture, like is the architecture different for using Gen AI versus like regular AI, or are they the same? Like you can use like Gen AI, like large language models on any AI architecture, or do you have to build something completely separate and different?
Yes. So the solution, give a background about solution that we are offering in the RB. So basically, we providing the solution to help enterprise build this AI agents to help them automate their repetitive tasks, right? And then most of the agents, especially in the research community where we also contribute a lot, is you have pure LLM agents that doing some task and then you benchmark it. And today's state would already even say one of the famous benchmark web arena, they're like the best ones. Even OpenAI just released the one, the operator is like 59%, even though they provide a lot of prompting in that benchmark. So that 59% accuracy rate is not enough for enterprises. So we adopt this observe and learn approach. And then under the hood, we also have our own DSL and the neurosymbolic architecture. So basically, we provide both coding and the AI capabilities together, allow enterprise to control how the agents do the work in a very specific way. And then so that the agents can perform those tasks in a higher accuracy rate. And then we can put in human loop in the process to guarantee that they can get 100% accuracy. So that's one snippet of the entire architecture to make sure that they can deliver the automation in a reliable way.
Yeah, so I've heard that like the agentic systems are like the new hot thing right now in the language model world. Like what sets like agentic systems apart from your regular vanilla like large language model setup?
So that depends on how you define agentic approach. So if you're using Andrew Ng's definition, that's where it came from originally. It means that assume that LLMs won't be 100% right. And then how do you leverage it and get your task done effectively? So that together it kind of get to 99% or 100% accuracy. So with that in mind, I think what we do is that we have human in the loop for both the workflow definition part and the workflow execution part. So allow users to define their automation very precisely, and then also can plug in their humans reviews when the agents or the models is thinking that they're not confident about automation to be done, so that with this review layer in process, and then the accuracy is sort of guaranteed for the enterprises.
And then what were like some challenges that you guys faced when you were building out this agentic framework?
Yes. So first of all, I think we do see the vanilla LLMs that train with static images and texts are not good enough for a lot of the agent tasks. So we started out to build our own foundation model called large action model, which we pioneered, and then to mitigate some of the issues. So one of the issue they have is the grounding capability, basically to decide what to do on computer and then actuate that action. You need to be able to know exactly how to interact with the applications or different kind of environments. So that's one area we improved the state of art from like 20% to 90% ish. And then the second part, we're seeing that there's a lot of macro actions. We can see the agents, the models can do reliably. And there we're training the foundation models to be able to perform for small tasks, but in a really, really reliable way, so that we can make this automation definitions execution more efficient, more accurate. And then another thing we're working on is try to be able to understand all kinds of environments. For example, well, a lot of enterprise, they have a legacy system that's built in-house. So none of the large foundation models understood those environments because their data has never covered those internal applications. So we develop a framework allow us to mine out those applications and then use that information to define agents better.
So like how did you like scale your agentic system? Did you like use like a third party hosting like inferencing service, or did you guys like build everything in house and host everything in house?
Yeah, so we can host everything in-house, but currently we use a Vertex AI for Gemini type of usage, and they already have the managed service you can scale up. And for all models, we use Fireworks who can manage the scaling up seamlessly for us.
Yeah, I absolutely love agentic systems. You know, they I was building them before like they were called agentic systems. I just find it really funny in the Gen AI world, like they come up with these weird names like RAG, like retrieval augmented generation. They used to be like question answer query, which made a lot more sense to me.
Hmm.
And now like the community is going towards like just naming things and in like weird ways. So are you guys using any type of like open source software? It looks like you guys are using Gemini or like Vertex AI, but are you guys using any like other open source like tooling such as like your like the hot things like right now is like Llama or even like DeepSeek that's been on the news?
Yeah, for foundation model development, we didn't train from scratch because the static text and image understanding part, we don't need to retrain it. So we adopt QWEN as a model that we've been using, or we're definitely actually also evaluating DeepSeek and other models. And what we do is on top of those vanilla models, then we add in the understanding for the actions so that the models can perform in the way that we want them to do. And then we don't adopt most of the AI frameworks because most of them are pretty new and early being developed. But we do heavily rely on the open source world on the infrastructure side. For example, adopt Kubernetes and Docker and Temporal IO, Ray, etc.
So I'm told you guys have this cool platform at Orby. It's called the GPA platform, the generative process automation. Can you like walk me through like what that does?
Yes. So overall, we provide this comprehensive solution to help enterprise to, like I mentioned, to automate their repetitive tasks. So if we start backwards, the first thing is that we can deliver the best AI capabilities so that it can automate things they cannot done cannot do easily. For example, reconciliation being a really hairy problem for a lot of finance and accounting sections in big companies. So reconciliation, basically, you say, for example, one example is you can reconcile the receipts and the purchase orders. You want to line up the line items in those two type of documents. So we have a smart action that can do this kind of reconciliation similar for those customers in really high accuracy. On top of that, we have this agent framework allow customers to define and build those agents. For us to do that, we pioneer this observe and learn approach. Basically, customers demonstrate how they are doing their task and also put in extra information annotations on top of the demonstration. And then we use that information, we can already generate the workflow definition to automate the task. And then further top is that we help them to understand their process, right? We have this process discovery uh, product that we can observe how people are doing things and use that information to map out how their process look like, what are optimal path, where are less optimal path, where they're wasting times, what's their happy path. So with that information, they can clean up the process so that they can define what to automate with more clear ROI in mind. Okay. And then even better, further on top of that is this whole process mining process. Basically, we don't have a target process. We just want to see a team of people, what they are doing in general. And with that, we can provide information such as what kind of application they're using, how much time they're spending on those things, and how this is compared across different functions, and how these actions are connected into different processes. And with that information, they can identify which areas they want to zoom in to learn more about it.
So what's your thoughts on like what's going to happen next for like enterprise AI platforms? Like, do you think that there's going to be a lot more agentic systems that are going to pop up open? Do you think that like there's going to be like more, say, like large action models that are going to be popping open? Like, what's your gut telling you? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, definitely. I do see a lot of new companies coming out, yeah, for going after this agent platform for both enterprises, consumers. And then we also see that there are more people are working on, or even including the big giant technology companies working towards to improve their foundation models to be able to do actions better, like OpenAI's operator. And then overall, from enterprise usage perspective, we do see that in the future, every single employee will be able to have access to a suite of professional, purposefully built agents to help them with their daily tasks. And they just need to work with those agents and get the task done in an efficient way. And we also do see that the agents will not just passively wait for the commands to work on. They will also become more proactive to be able to observe what people are doing. And then using that observation, you can do so many powerful things. Data is filled for AI, you know that. And then with that information, we can understand better how people are doing things, and then use that to seamlessly generate automation suggestions, ideas to take actions on.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think like the big thing that people are gonna probably be using like enterprise AI for is probably like document understanding, or like maybe just taking like old documents that you have laying around like in archive, and then and trying to digitize that and putting it into like a RAG system so that you can do quicker searches. I know like the federal government has a big mandate of like trying to digitize all of the archived like documents, and then also like a lot of times people don't understand this, but like a lot of the unstructured data out there, like vision, like vision, for instance, that's like data, and people don't understand. Like they didn't understand. They couldn't process like that was data until like CNNs came out, like convolutional neural networks came out. So like, do you envision any like aha moments in the future, such as like that? My example of like taking like a video and using that as like unstructured data and finding out that you could use like CNNs and to extract out data like that. Do you see like do you envision anybody like coming up with like a big aha moment in the enterprise?
Yes, I think recently people have been talking about like we exhausted all the data on the web. I think there's one big source of data was not actually exploited as this human and computer interaction data. We do tons of things on computers, and every single decision you make on computer, given the context you see, actually there's intelligence in it, right? That information can both be leveraged to train the models to perform better or have better general intelligence, or that information can be mined out to do all sorts of things better. I think process mining, I talk about it, and then help with define automation better. I talk about it, and then also human loop to be able to provide feedback to the agents who can learn and do better as another aspect.
Yeah, and for our viewers at home who might be interested in like reaching out to you and learning more about enterprise AI, like what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Come to our company website. It's orby.ai. So orby.ai. We have all the information there, and then you can submit a request for a demo.
And then for our viewers who are like curious as to like how to implement like a fully fledged AI platform or an enterprise grade platform, what's like a really good place to start, like to like upskill and like learn a bit more about that?
So I think there are really two aspects. One is look at the kind of tasks that enterprise is trying to solve. These tasks are actually very different from most of the benchmarks are going after. For example, benchmarks are talking about how to find the most popular product on some websites, and that's no enterprise will need to do that on a repetitive case base. So you can find those tasks. Sometimes you can go to some of the outsourcing platforms, see what people are doing there, and also go to some professional communities like accountant community and see what kind of problem they're trying to solve there. And then the other aspect is about this whole support for enterprises, what kind of reliability, scalability the enterprise needed. I think you need those capabilities in day one if you want to serve enterprises.
And then last question, like what's like the hot thing that you guys are cooking up over at Orby? Can you like give us some insider tips and tricks as to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so recently we released one of the open source version of our model, Actio. We collaborate with the OSU, one of the top research lab in this direction. We have achieved the state of art performance on UGround. And then also we're releasing another version of the model to attack the benchmarks for end-to-end AI agent evaluation. We are seeing better results better than OpenAI and Anthropic, etc.
And that's open source, you said?
Yes, that's open source. You can find the model on Hugging Face.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that was my next question was like, where can I get it? And you said Hugging Face. Cool, great. Yeah, to our viewers at home, if you're interested in taking a look at their open source models, head over to Hugging Face, type in Orby, and then you should be able to get access to it. Again, I'm a big proponent of like a big supporter of open source software. I love to see these new language models popping up on Hugging Face. Love to like progress that field a lot more, especially what in the news right now. It's like the big hot thing is like that DeepSeek release for the R1 that caused like all of the major AI stocks to drop like overnight. So what's your thoughts on that? Like it was like it was a hedge fund company that releases open source software, and it just dominated the news, and it took all of the closed source models by storm. Like it was crazy. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this whole scaling law got super popular with GPT-3 paper being published. I think that's 3 years ago. And then people have been like stacking up all the GPU compute powers to think that that will give them the differentiator. But in reality, that's not the case. And you can just do so much with the scaling law. So these kind of innovations, I think the DeepSeek, they really amazing at improving the efficiency of their training. They're not even using CUDA driver based on the latest news. They implement their own implementation with the PDX directly, and then so that they don't have to use as much GPUs. That's definitely a great innovation. Similarly, at Orby, we didn't spend tons of millions of dollars on training the models. We spent less than $10 million to deliver the state-of-art results, beating OpenAI and Anthropic. I think the trend there is that this Gen AI capability is going to become commodity. The question is, what do you do with it? How do you mitigate the gap that instilled in those models and to solve real customer problems?
Well, thanks so much for being on the show, and until next time, stay curious.